Hey, I'm Bobby, and this is
Again?
Welcome to Nids' Wood Shop. Today, we're going to show you how we made the torch from Minecraft. All right, hey, my name's Bobby, and welcome to Nids' Wood Shop. Today, we are going to be making a torch from what game? Minecraft. Lincoln saw one of these on YouTube, someone made one, and here we are making our own now. We're gonna do it a little bit differently. The other creator used some acrylic to make some forms for the torch portion. We're actually gonna be using some little silicone molds that we found on Amazon. We're going to be using a deep pour epoxy. This is Super Clear Epoxy Systems liquid glass. You do have to have this in an environment that's warm, so 70 plus degrees. So don't do this in a cold winter month in a cold shop or a garage, because your epoxy just won't cure. Additionally, we're going to be using just some other random resin pigment that I found on Amazon. Magic Fly is the brand. We're going to mix some colors up and we'll see how it goes. All right, so for this resin, it's pretty important that you stir for roughly 5 minutes. You want to make sure both parts are equally combined. This epoxy has actually been sitting in my shop for a little over a year, and you see that the hardener has actually gotten a little yellow. Normally it's not like that. This is not a project we're turning out for a customer, so we're just going to go ahead and use it and cross our fingers, and we'll see what color it turns out to be. Okay, so this isn't bad for that yellowed hardener. It still looks fairly clear. It won't really matter for this project because we're going to be putting some pigment in this anyway. And go ahead and hold those up, Lincoln. We're going to be using a white, an orange, and a yellow.
Okay, so on today's video, we put this epoxy in, and then we waited a couple days, and this turned out good because we waited and it dried up. Now we popped it out.
Okay, so up next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna sand these little blocks to maybe give them like a little bit of haze so that when the light shines up through this torch, it'll glow a little more. And to do that, we're gonna start off with some 320 grit sandpaper, and we'll see how it goes. We might have to go to 220 depending on the finish we're getting when we sand these little blocks. So we did start off using the sander, but we quickly found out that we couldn't keep things very square just doing it by hand like this. So we switched over to this type of sander. Once all the cubes were square, we used some quick setting epoxy, quick 5-minute epoxy to glue them together. And we accomplished this by just connecting them all with some rubber bands until they dried.
Next, we're gonna make these 2 pieces of wood flat. Next, we're gonna glue these pieces of wood together.
Now, if you don't have a jointer to get these pieces of wood flat, the same thing can be accomplished on a table saw. When gluing these up, you need to spread the glue evenly and have some good clamping pressure across the joint. Now that things are glued up, we take it out of the clamps and we move it over to the table saw to cut it down to the final size. so now we've got our cubes all glued up and sanded down square. We did that on our sander, on our sanding wheel over there, on our little mobile belt sander. The next step is to start working on the base of this and hollowing out a section to put in that LED that's going to shine up through this into the base. So what we're going to do is we've measured the width of one cube, and we're going to make a mark here on the base of our torch. We're going to mark that, and then we're going to cut that section off and glue that to the top of the torch here. Then we're going to drill a hole in the center on the underside of that cut off piece, and in the center going down into the base of the torch. So we can insert all the hardware to put our LED in and the switch.
Next, we found the center of our piece of wood by making an X. Next, we'll mark the center with our punch. Now, we're going to use our Forstner bit to drill a hole.
Now that we have drilled out the cavity for our torch, this is the cavity where the battery, LED, and the switch are going to be embedded. I know literally nothing about wiring or LEDs or anything to that degree, but this is the little switch that I ordered off of Amazon. It has 4 wires, and on the bright side, it came with a little diagram which shows us exactly how to wire it up. And I just kind of twisted the wires together to make sure it worked, and it does. So fantastic. Now we just have to solder them together and embed them into the torch. So the next step, though, is drilling a hole that's the size of this so we can embed this into the side of the base of our torch.
Now, after we drill this hole, the next step is going to be using the table saw. Raised up just a tiny bit to cut the lines to replicate all the pixelated look in Minecraft, as everything is formed out of essentially pixels. We're not cutting the whole way through, just a tiny bit, as you can see here.
Okay, so next we are going to drill some holes on these corners to put some rare earth magnets in here, because what we want to do is that when this battery burns out, we want to have an easy way to access it. So we're going to put magnets here, 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 and here, and then we're going to put the opposing magnets here, so we can just pop that whole top off and get access to our battery when it eventually burns out.
Now, the idea with the magnets ended up failing completely, and we had to revamp what we were going to do, so we just cut the top off and drilled a hole the entire way through the base. And in this step, after doing some YouTube searching on how to solder and wire things, we spent some time soldering up these wires to connect the LED switch to the battery. And here we're putting some shrink wrap on there. Now you're going to need to have a platform for your LED to sit on so it shines up into the base. And to accomplish this, I just grabbed a little frisbee of my kids and chopped it up and hot glued it in place. And this is the LED that I used. I'll put a link in the description below. And I hot glued that onto that little piece of plastic. And as you can see, once that battery is connected, the light for the switch turns on. And voila, we have light. Now I'm using some 5-minute epoxy to once again glue the top portion of the torch onto the top. And this can't be undone. this portion can be undone. I essentially just cut a small slice of the walnut we use for the base and drilled some holes to put some screws into. And this will allow you to replace the battery as it burns out over time. And thankfully, it worked. And I think that after all of this hard work, we're gonna need a happy dance. Just wait, you'll see.
We have to slay the dragon and the wizard. We need to defeat an enderman to get ender pearls. And then we can need blaze power to make ender eyes to get to the portal to go to the ender.
Alright, well that's the end of the video. Hopefully you've all gained something from this, and hopefully you can build one of these at home on your own. And don't forget,
make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.